how brains heal symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. There is a process for this. Brains are phenomenal at resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. It's my entire practice, and how I help people is based on helping brains heal. Not helping them understand the symptoms, not helping people talk through the symptoms. I mean, it's great, we do some of that, but it's really about, is your brain able to complete the process of resolving this? Let's dive in. So I really want you to understand that brains resolve symptoms. They are designed to. Let me explain it like this. Our body is this big sensing organ, and its job is to pick up all the information from the outside and the inside of us and deliver it to the front of the brain so the front of the brain can figure out what's going on. However, some of the information moving through the body, and I'm talking about through our senses, like our skin, our ears, our mouths, our tastes, what we're seeing, what we're sensing, all those things, right? All of that stuff needs to come up and go in. The information that's moving through our body that's positive or neutral just goes straight up there to the dashboard. However, the stuff that we're experiencing that registers as pain or negative really starts moving through the system. And at the limbic system, the pain neurons there register danger in the limbic system shifts into survival mode. And so the processing gets shut down. That data is vital for that little guy to be able to navigate and understand what's happening, but it's not getting any of it. Instead of it getting the information that's coded in this negative emotion, the brain is shifting us into survival mode: fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn. This is where all of our symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress are showing up. So once you have a symptom of anxiety, depression, or traumatic stress, you've caught your brain shifting into survival mode. That's not the direction we want it to take. We want it to go processing, deliver that data, give that little guy up there all the information, but the brain isn't doing that. It's reacting to the information moving through the system, and it's shifting into fight, flight, freeze, or faint. So right here, where you've got a symptom of anxiety, depression, or traumatic stress, you've really got a powerful opportunity to really help the brain do something different with this information. What happens is this information in the body's like, I got to deliver this information, right? So it tries over and over again. And every time that information comes up, shift, survival state, survival strategies, right? Up again, let me try again, shift, right? This will go on an entire lifetime. And this will happen multiple times a day because the system's designed to heal. It doesn't know that it's not going to work this time, right? Its job, and I'm just doing my job, making the donuts. It's bringing up all those symptoms. It's shifting into symptoms over and over and over again. Let's say you have complex childhood trauma. That means that your system has been holding on to information, pain, it hasn't been able to process this whole time. And so there's a lot of that stuff trying to move through and heal every day. So people will spend the majority of their day in a survival state: fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn. This is why many people will spend a lot of their time fighting, fatigue, excessive sleeping. They're just known as being defensive. They're kind of just permanently in a survival state of fight, right? So they're defending everything. This speaks to them being in a massive amounts of pain. But you see the amount of times the brain is deciding survival, you'll see so many symptoms. And when you see symptoms, you know your brain is going survival. It's taking a left over here. We want the brain to go this path. We want it to go down the healing pathways. We want it to go down the pathways where the whole brain and all of our higher level reasoning gets involved, and we get to make really wonderful, healthy solutions. When we're talking about healing symptoms, how brains heal is really by making this shift. I don't know if I'm even saying that powerfully enough for you, but if you know you just got to make this shift, things heal. Things will never be the same. That symptom unravels very, very quickly because the brain is able to do what it can do. Okay, now let's talk about this limbic system. The limbic system here is the choice maker of, are we going survival or are we going processing and healing and growth? Okay, so what we want to do is we want to influence this part of the brain. When you work with it in the way that it works, it responds instantaneously. It responds in seconds. And it will resolve symptoms for you in moments, okay, which is awesome. We want to be all things limbic system. I also call this system the survival system. So this is the one we are focused on. This is the game changer. The limbic system's role is pivotal, whether there will be healing or whether there will be symptoms, continuing of symptoms or worsening of symptoms, because that part of the brain is smart. What we do wrong here is we don't ever talk to that part of the brain in its native language. We don't learn enough about that part of the brain to be effective with it. So this part of the brain is listening to the body. It doesn't care what you say. It doesn't care what you think. It doesn't care what you know. It doesn't care. If you can send messages of safety through the body at the same time pain is moving, right? So this negative emotion, grief, sadness, betrayal, distress, fear, terror. I might have said that twice. I think it deserves 2 times. Any of these negative emotions, if you can, while you're paying attention to that, talking about that, feeling it, sensing it, drawing pictures of it, playing music that's evoking it, any of these things that we're doing to really help the body bring this pain up. If you can also send through the body signals of safety, it processes the survivals. That part of the brain has enough support to actually shift this energy to the top, where it can finally be processed and integrated, and the body has completed its process. Its whole job is to get that information to the front of the brain, right? And we're working while we're having these emotions, or what we're doing, we're working to support that part of the brain to have it have enough safety to go to processing. So other people will say, another common term here is, we want to regulate the nervous system. While all this pain and distress and grief and negative emotion, terror is moving, we want to regulate the nervous system. Yes, same language. And there's lots of tricks to this. The body is very responsive. That part of the brain, it doesn't even know that we're kind of hacking it, or we're manually operating its relaxation processing strategy. And that's what we're doing. That's what we have the opportunity to do now. Anything you would do with a baby, right? If you're rocking, this movement is a safety signal a lot of times, in tapping and patting and that comfort from another person, touch. I see you. This is really hard. That connection, that's the soothing sounds. We're using the body, we're using the ears, right? If we're being hugged and comforted, we don't do that when you're being chased by a tiger, right? Eating, we're using the mouth, we're using the taste buds to send signals of safety. Historically, the brain knows that if we're eating, we're not being chased by a tiger, so we must be safe. That's its rationale. And so these are ways the brain's learning where we're at here. I think I should run. Wait, hold up, we're being rocked. Okay, we're safe. Right? It's very, very simple. But a lot of these things that we know intuitively don't promote healing, because they just promote that regulation. We calm down. And then we're like, but it didn't help the information get through. Right? So we really want to combine these things. There's a little bit of a dance here, but it's really pivotal that we can regulate the nervous system. There's some interventions that I teach, and they use the body, and so they're working with that part of the brain, and they're sending messages of safety that brain responds to very quickly. And we are using them at times where we are thinking about or experiencing symptoms. So we're combining the two things, attention on this symptom and regulating the nervous system, which I call attention and intervention. Right? Those are the two key ingredients here to the healing dance. Can you pay attention to the symptom, and can you use an intervention? This is easy. This can be very simple, and it can be very complex. I teach people basics all the way to absolutely the top strategies in my program, Inner World Transformation, and when I'm working with people, because I feel like we all should be and get to be really, really good at working with our brain and supporting our brain. We can get help. It's nice to have buddies or a professional support and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, you're the one who has to spend time with you. You can build this skill of attentioning to the highest levels that you want to very, very quickly, because you're actually doing a lot of it anyway. You just don't know how to combine it in a healing dance and get your brain to do its healing work very consistently. Once you do this enough, you're like, oh my gosh, this works. Oh my gosh, this works so consistently. Every symptom I've tried it on resolves. Hold up. And then all of a sudden it's like this shift takes place from running from your symptoms and avoiding them to come at me. And then it comes with like, oh, and then there's compassion, right? And then there's just like, oh, my brain's just trying to work things out. Let me give it some help. When you still believe your symptoms are trying to get you and attack you, there's a little bit of come at me. It's part of the growth process, right? Maturation, where we're learning that we're one, and we can, that all these things are here for our good. right? That takes some practice. I don't expect anyone to be there yet, but brains can resolve any symptom. And it's their design. It's natural and native for the brain to take this stuff and reorganize to wellness, to integrate it, not to reject it. So our limbic system's rejecting this stuff, sending it back into the body. Nope, can't come here. It's like once it gets up here, it gets to be integrated with the whole thing. Your brain makes beautiful sense out of it, and you can tell because this emotion is part of our emotional intelligence, right? The fear, the terror, the grief is part of our emotional intelligence. But if it doesn't get integrated, we're missing out on so much of our intelligence. And you can see our choices in our life, our behaviors look like they're missing some emotional intelligence. You know what I'm talking about? And that's because some of these big feelings haven't made their way up there yet. And we want to escort them. We want to guide them. And one of the benefits here is this is part of how brains resolve symptoms, but we're also giving the brain practice in actually working well with fear, with grief. We're teaching the brain, hey, this is not a danger threat to our system. Remember the last time we did that and we got all this clarity and insight and some epiphanies, and then we stopped snapping at our children or our spouse, or we stopped avoiding our work and we didn't procrastinate anymore there. And so the brain starts to really change its relationship with some of these big emotions like fear, grief, despair, hopelessness. Shifts because hopelessness and despair turns into courage and new beginnings and hope. Once your brain starts watching that, it really starts teaming up with the emotions. And we want that. We're getting way ahead of symptoms. If your body is letting fear flow through the integration process, the healing process, it's not shifting into symptoms, right? Symptoms are not occurring. The brain is not using that information in that way. That's powerful. That's what we want. We heal by having a continuous flow. It's like being playing a sport for the first time and you can't make sense of this or that, but the more you keep playing, the more information your system is integrating, the more it's like, oh, we should do this. And the body movements are starting to become synergistic and cohesive, and the level of game is better. This happens at our homework, our schoolwork, gardening, child rearing, marriage, intimacy, sex, our creative works, our everything we do depends on this, and every one of our life, you see this growth. And if our brain is stuck repeating symptoms, that's a sign that this process isn't functioning and that we can just get in there and help. And the more symptoms you have, the more work you got here. We have retraining the brain to do. We have helping it untangle some of these symptoms. Sometimes I'm doing this work with people and they're like, is this magic? I'm like, no, this is healthy brain functions. This is what your brain should have been doing. This is what your brain should be doing, and it's going to be doing now that we're helping it do what it is designed to do. So it's really, really powerful. Brain function is pretty impressive. Some of the interventions that I teach are emotional freedom techniques, thought-filled therapy, energy medicine, and EMDR. I like these because they're fast. There are some really beautiful interventions out there. What we want to do is we want to find the right interventions for the right symptom, for the right people. Some people like this, some people like that. After working with so many people, I know these 4 people can do them enough to resolve a disorder. Breathing is really powerful because that long exhale really shifts us from fight or flight to rest and digest. And that's where the healing happens. We're telling the brain, let's go over here. Slow exhale. You know what I'm talking about. The brain's like, oh, I do. That's where we let the stuff happen. We're safe. We're having that full conversation with that part of the brain just by slow exhale. So these interventions, emotional freedom techniques is about tapping on points. Thought-filled therapy is also using the body with tapping meridian points. Energy medicine has a lot to do with different holding different points of the body, different movements. EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing is using the eyes to guide the brain through its healing work. That one has some pretty gnarly side effects, so I teach that one once people have some pretty good skills. But I'm bringing this up because I want you to know about these interventions, and I offer free trainings on these on my website. You sign up for my email list, and then it takes you to the program for this. It's free. I teach you 3 of these interventions: emotional freedom techniques, thought-filled therapy, and energy medicine. Those are the top interventions I'm using consistently with clients to get consistent results. I feel like if you're working with me, I have a job to do, right? And so I'm going with my best hitters, and those are those three interventions. But I want to invite you to do that. You can find the link up in the header of this. In 45 minutes, I teach you 3 interventions, and you can experience them. What you experience is really how you know if this is an intervention that helps your system do the healing work. And you need to know that. You need to feel that. I don't want you trusting me. I don't want you like, well, she said this is going to work. No, I want you to take an intervention and use it and see if it actually works. You should know within seconds and minutes if you notice your system calming. I teach what you can notice in other videos and in that online program, so you can decide for yourself. Now, when you have an intervention, you have one of the 2 parts. You have an intervention, and the next thing is attention. There's a lot of attentioning you can do. Once you have an intervention and you just notice you're having a symptom, you just use the intervention and watch it work. But there's a lot of stuff you want to get ahead of, right? You don't want to be symptom chasing your whole life. You do want the skill of resolving a symptom, but you want to go deeper than that. And so there's a lot of other strategies there. That's what my program Inner World Transformation is about. And so if you find an intervention in that free program that really, really works, and then you're like, well, how can I use this more? And how can I use this for this more complex thing over here? And how can I, that's really a time where you know that this program is designed to empower you to do the rest of the work. There's more with those interventions. So much you can do with those interventions. I'd love to teach you them. That's really what Inner World Transformation is for. It's an online program. It's the exact program I walk my therapy clients through. It's the same program I walk my coaching clients through, and it is powerful. I have people that I have never met that have done that program. I was like, this is changing my life. They email me updates. I love that. This is what I noticed. This is what I'm learning. It's fabulous. And I know that that's exactly what their brain should be doing. It's right on point. And even though I'm not working with them, they're still getting the results. Their brain is still doing what I would expect their brain to be doing. So those are available. The links are in the title here. I want you to know brains heal. These symptoms that are here today can be gone today. There's some that are more complex and they need more advanced strategies, but really there is so much healing available to you, even with little tiny itty bitty skills. When you start working with that part of the brain, is like, oh, thank you. You don't even need to know, because your whole system has its own healing wisdom that if that one part gets out of the way, all of a sudden it can do its work.